עצמה אחרי טבח 7 באוקטובר. עכשיו הוא בישראל, מיד השיחה שערכנו איתו הערב, קודם תזכורת לדברים שאמר לתקשורת הבריטית והפכו ויראליים. הנה.
Is that, and while raining down missiles on buildings which they know are going to kill civilians, we know hundreds and hundreds of civilians have already died, many of them children, is that a reasonable, proportionate and moral response by Israel?
There is some deep perversion in Britain whenever Israel is involved in a conflict, and it is the word you just used, proportion. Proportionality in conflict rarely exists. But if we were to decide that we should have this fetish about proportionality, then that would mean that in retaliation for what Hamas did in Israel on Saturday, Israel should try to locate a music festival in Gaza, for instance, and good luck with that, should try to find a music festival in Gaza and rape precisely the number of women that Hamas raped on Saturday. Kill precisely the number of young people that Hamas killed on Saturday. Proportionality in conflict is a joke.
Douglas Murray, journalist and best-selling author of The War on the West, thank you so much for talking to us this evening.
It's a great pleasure for me. Thank you.
You are now in Israel. You visited the border. You visited the kibbutzim. Can we ask you what you realized or understand from here that you didn't from over there?
I was in near Oz in the kibbutz yesterday to see firsthand the horrors of what was done to the people of that kibbutz and so many other people in Israel on the 7th of October. And, you know, I think that there are some things which you have to stare in the face and see up close, and that was certainly one such thing.
You know, you've been really presenting Israel's case in the international media, and I wonder if you could help us understand why we seem to be losing this information war. Why is it so hard for us after the October 7th events, after Israelis have been massacred, to get our narrative across? And what should we do about it?
I think that there is a moral problem, and it's not Israel's problem, it's the rest of the world's problem. I can't think of another atrocity in my lifetime where the victims have essentially been blamed or accused or been put on the defensive from pretty much the moment of the atrocity. In my view, the international community, much of it, and much of the international media for sure, just wants to get straight on to the Israeli reaction. They hardly spent a day talking about the atrocities. They hardly spent a day doing so. One of the reasons I was at, well, two of the massacre sites yesterday was because I'm just stunned at the speed with which the world tried to move on, that the UN and other bodies immediately go on to the safe question of, are the Israelis going to over-retaliate? And I think there are things always that people can do to improve PR, but that's not a PR problem. That's a moral problem of the rest of the world. I mean, you know, sorry to state the obvious, but in cities like London and New York, we haven't seen 1% of the turnout of protesters that we've seen in recent weeks attacking Israel, for the hundreds of thousands of people killed in Yemen in recent years, the hundreds of thousands of people killed in Bashar al-Assad's civil war in Syria.
So what, I mean, again, what can we do about this, besides trying to explain our case over and over?
I think you just have to explain your case over and over and point out the atrocious way in which so many people who present themselves as fair-minded actually report things. I mean, no media report just a statement from the government without saying, you know, says a source from the government. So why is it that someone like the BBC and other international media, the New York Times, will just report Hamas claims as if, first of all, they are fact and always fact, and secondly, don't even say they're from Hamas? I mean, when this figure came out of 500 people allegedly killed when this rocket that turned out to be a Palestinian rocket landed in the car park of a hospital, you know, to use the old Mark Twain line, the lie had gone right around the world before the truth even had a chance to get its boots on.
Even though, I mean, notwithstanding this very supportive American president, there have been growing voices trying to pressure Israel to agree to a ceasefire. So Israel kind of has a window in which it can act. It doesn't have an endless, you know, rope from the international community.
I think there's something very perverse about the demand that Israel is never allowed to win and is always allowed at best to come to some kind of draw. And I don't think that a situation that returned us to the status quo ante of October the 6th would be in any way in Israel's interests or in the interests of the civilized world.
Douglas Murray, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.